Hey everybody, welcome to another Microsoft Unboxed POD. This is episode 34. I am your host today, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by
David Allen, number 34. Nothing significant for me for 34. How about you?
yeah, this is the weird in between. We're not at the big 4-0, we're not mid 30s yet. So yeah, there's nothing relevant to talk about as far as the age or the number of this particular pod. I mean, again, season one, we have 35
We're eight.
episodes,
We're
or
age. We're
34
aging
episodes.
gracefully. We're
Right.
aging
And we have
gracefully.
34 episodes of us talking about tech. Um, with that being said, let's get you into what we're talking about today. It is kind of it's not a short week, but it's a slim week as far as blockbuster Microsoft news. But we do, bring you the news that's out. We'll be talking about Microsoft actually officially canceling HoloLens. It kind of put it on Skeleton Crew. What was that, earlier this year? Now they've just decided, you know what, we're done with this thing, which is interesting because again, they still service commercial entities. So I wonder what they're going to say to those people. Amazon introducing new AI features with a new Fire HD tablet, which looks like it's going to be a pretty good bang for your buck when it comes to tablets. So if you were someone who wants to do very limited things on a tablet or have children and you don't want to pay the $400 to get an iPad, these are looking to be super great alternatives. We were going to be talking about OpenAI raising 6.6 billion to crawl themselves out of a potential sinkhole of bankruptcy. And in doing so, they want to make sure that they're never in that position again. And they have a weird option that they're offering investors in order to make sure that happens. We'll get into that weird twist as we cover that story. We got Copilot Plus PCs. We'll be getting a whole bunch of new Windows experiences. I went and updated mine. Haven't gotten it yet, so we'll see as they roll out who gets what. We'll go over those specifically. But either way, letting you know that these Copilot Plus PCs are going to be aging better over time, which is kind of the contrary to the way PCs have kind of gone historically. Microsoft will be turning it is has done an overhaul of Copilot that I don't think anybody wanted. We're going to be getting into that exactly what's been changed and how that's affecting users, and kind of we're going to kind of speculate towards the end that Microsoft may have lost the plot when it comes to Copilot, and it seems like it's relatively early. What is it, 2.5, 3 years old, and they've already kind of run out of ideas or gone in a weird direction for it, which doesn't bode well uh, for Microsoft and probably if you extrapolate that, the AI space in general. With that all being said, I am going to stop talking for a minute and let my co-host David run with it. Could you give us our first headline, please?
All right, let's jump on into HoloLens going away, if you guys don't mind. HoloLens to me was always on a little bit of a rocky turf. They had the deal with the U.S. Army that you covered very in depth back when it was going on, and you wrote many pieces about it for various outlets that we have worked with. But the U.S. Army was really a big customer. They had other commercial customers that you mentioned in the opening, but ultimately, Microsoft has decided to, I don't want to say finally, but I think the writing is on the wall or was on the wall to do away with HoloLens. So if you have the HoloLens 2, you have support through 2027. If you have the original HoloLens that came out in 2015, you're going to be out of support this year, here in just a couple months, December 10th, in fact. So a little over 2 months for the HoloLens 2. Now, Microsoft does say that these support options are not necessarily new features, so don't think that they're maybe still working on it in the background. They're more for security and compatibility issues. Now, we kind of know that this kind of occurred when Alex Kipman left the company in 2022 and the HoloLens division was shifted around. Some of those people were laid off. And Microsoft has always said that they would have updates to the HoloLens headset when they had something meaningful to share. Now, what that means, only Microsoft knows. Does that I think what they're doing is possibly leaving the door open for a future product. I think the HoloLens in its current form is done. I will throw in, while we're on the topic of AR and VR, that Meta is coming out with the little confusing. We've got the Quest 2, the Quest 3. Now the Quest 3S is coming out this month, and I saw where HTC, I do not remember the name of it, is coming out with a prosumer headset later this month as well, roughly $9.99 in cost. That is also a standalone headset and can be connected to a PC. So maybe Microsoft is saying, hey, we're going to let Meta and some of the other folks kind of dictate where AR and VR goes, and we'll enter later if we see a need or desire to do so. But for now, HoloLens is on the shelf.
Yeah, I see this as typical Microsoft. They were early to something, and they're going to be early to leave. It's like when you go to a house party and you show up
Mm-hmm.
right as the party starts, and then you leave 2 hours before everyone else gets there, or all the exciting things happen, and then you're there the week, the next Monday after the weekend party, and everyone's talking about all the cool things that happened, and you're left scratching your head going, "I missed all of that." I feel like Microsoft's in this position right now. They have HoloLens, and if they had kept iterating on it in a regular fashion, maybe they too could have gotten to this glasses type of evolution that I think everyone's been trying to get to. That was the whole I thought was the purpose of the AR aspect of HoloLens, was to continue to refine the experience to maybe not needing the back strap and having the computer maybe rest in just the top part of the glasses to eventually get to glasses. I think was the idea. And Microsoft scrapping the project. I don't know if they're going to be doing any R&D to make those type of glasses or even tailoring windows to that experience. Now, I will say, I don't think the glasses aspect of AR, I think we're starting to realize is maybe people don't want to reinvent the wheel. And I think Microsoft did that. They gave you the Windows experience, your desktop experience, and they gave you what seemed to be kind of a cumbersome way to interact necessarily with uh, your desktop in a way that didn't feel natural. And I think Apple's Vision Pro is doing the same thing. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
have these, you can click through windows, you can navigate stuff, you can place stuff everywhere. But I don't think people want to sit or walk with their desktop everywhere. I think what we're starting to realize is that with the advent of AI, or at least the evolution of chat bots or chat assistants, that we were going to be on the go and we want information on the go, not necessarily full blown work on the go. So maybe we get Copilot in a pair of glasses that don't necessarily need the full capacity for PC software and a full-on CPU. It just needs sensors to then feed information into Copilot that Copilot can then purpose as information back to you. Who knows?
I also think people are a little overwhelmed, too connected. I think that's also an issue. Now, I understand that there's plenty of places for AR and VR in certain businesses. There's, places for it in medical, of course, love to see, it there and be able to, you know, manipulate things medically, see the body and see our organs in 3D and come up with, you know, new ways to treat illness. Totally, totally get it. But for the average person, I think AR, VR is still entertainment at best because didn't we see something here recently where PlayStation had discontinued the VR or toned it down or something?
Well, I
Because
think
I
they
read
they introduced it. They introduced a new version of it that isn't selling well, so to speak. So I don't know if there will be a third iteration of it.
because my hope was that we would get some sort of Xbox, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series X2, whatever it was going to be. And, you'd have this experience where you'd walk into your game room, you'd put on the headset, you'd play basketball with LeBron James, in your headset, and that still may come. I just don't see where people are widely ready yet for those experiences.
Yeah, and last point I'm going to put on this is that again, I think it's come down to people. I guess to your point of being kind of burnt out on the work experience. I think the idea of constant productivity being pushed at people versus maybe more consumption or more hobbyist kind of things is starting to fall on deaf ears. So you can't always be productive 365 days, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week like that. And this is basically what HoloLens was kind of starting to tailor towards, like, oh, you can always wear this thing to do work, 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 work. And I think people want maybe an escape from that. Maybe they, like you, to your point, maybe they want to do some more gaming. Maybe they're just hobbyists. Maybe they want to learn to build shelves and things like that. And there are going to be other products that can do that. And who knows? We still haven't seen what has come of the partnership between Microsoft and Samsung as far as putting Windows on those AR glasses or goggles. I think that's supposed to be something that's going to be happening in the next year or so. So it's sad that Microsoft has given up on this. And I feel like with the way that Meta's kind of going and with Apple still kind of iterating, that there's still something left. There's still some kind of meat on that bone. We just don't know what it is. But we do know Magic Leap is gone. I mean, I don't think as a company, I think they're still around. But remember that competition, that horse race between you know uh, Hololens and Magic Leap? I don't think I've heard the term or the phrase or the
I
company's
haven't.
name in the last 2.5, 3 years since the pandemic, essentially. So
Well, I will say one more thing about it. I've got a MetaQuest 2 right behind me here. And I use it for sim racing, plug it in the PC, and it puts you in the race car. And that's the way I take advantage of it. And I will say, I have never used the Meta Quest the way it was intended to be used out of the box as a standalone, entertainment device where it's on your head and you've got the two controllers. The two controllers are still in the box, but the reason I bring that up, I spend hours if Windows doesn't update or you have to re-image your PC. It takes hours to get just the headset, not the racing portion of it, just to get the headset recalibrated, reset up, and going again. And every time I have to do that, I'm technical oriented and can do that. I've done it enough. I know the process. But 99.9% of other people are just going to say, nope, this is too hard. You kind of have to have some technical knowledge to get the advanced features out of it. I don't think we've gotten to a headset yet to where put it on and you get all the things. You get what Meta wants you to have, the gaming experiences, the gaming store, but you don't get you can't do the average person is not going to do the PC side of it unless you're doing like a racing experience and you're willing to dig into it. It is not plug and play. And I think that's part of the problem with everybody's experience. It's just not as plug and play yet as it needs to be.
you know what most people might actually get and feels more plug and play? Ta-da! Segue. You wrote about this. Amazon is introducing some new AI features on a with the new Fire HD tablets. You want to get into what we got and what kind of news came about this week for that?
Well, this kind of surprised me. I was not looking for an Amazon tablet, but they have came out with the new Fire HD 8. Long story short, we have double RAM, we have better cameras, a 5 megapixel on the front, we have a micro SD card slot for expanding your storage. If you jump right on it between now and October 9th, you can start out for just $54.99. Now, I'm not making fun of that one bit. I think that is a good place to get a good tablet that is the throw around the house tablet, the sit on the coffee table, the kids pick it up, the wife picks it up, the husband picks it up. That's your couch surfer, your couch YouTuber, your couch TikTok, your couch Facebook. They do say 13 hours of battery life, and that the new kids models, my niece has one of these kids models. Kids models are pretty cool, I gotta say. They're coming with the new Disney cases that are out. So for the kids out there, that will be fun to see. Now, what really got my attention was it's time for Amazon to dabble in, guess what? AI. But what got me here was you can do writing summaries, which you have to have the Amazon Silk browser for the 5 people that have used it. It will summarize your web page for you. You have a wallpaper creator. I know a lot of people get into wallpapers. All my devices still have their default wallpapers on them. Sorry about that. You have a writing assist that will help you compose your messages and use keyboard shortcuts across the device, like a Copilot button, for example. If you're doing an email on your Amazon tablet, there's a button you should be able to hit and write that email, and it will help you summarize it. Now, I don't know how many people are going to be sending emails on the Amazon Fire HD8 tablet. That is usually, unless you know how to sideload things, a very closed ecosystem to what Amazon allows you to access. But for me, there's two things coming out of this. It's a cheap tablet that should be a good performer. Most Amazon tablets have been fair performers in the past. And it is the first iteration into Amazon showing the consumer AI on a device beyond the AI bot named Rufus that is on Amazon.com. So we'll just have to see where these go. I may pick one of these up for $54.99 just to see what a $54.99 tablet's all about.
Yeah, my only experience with the Amazon tablets are my daughters have them, and they make great road trip assistants for my wife and
Yes.
I. When we run out of games and songs and basically topics to talk about, we let the girls run with those, and they find games to play on there. There's a typing game my youngest is learning to do, typing words per minute and stuff like that. It's amazing. It's just a great filler, and at $60 or whatnot, I think it's a kind of a no brainer for a lot of people, especially coming into the holiday season. I think they're dropping it at the right time. It gives people the next 2 months to kind of snatch these up and or pick out their favorite covers or colors or whatever. To your point about the AI, it'll be interesting to see how they navigate that, because I think a lot of their stuff, like you said, is closed system. And I mean, I don't use the Samsung browser, and I know that their AI summarizations are tied to that. I can imagine fewer people even use the Silk browser, but I could be wrong. So I do want to see where they go with that. But this kind of leads into our next story, though, because we have the new tablets coming out. So they're giving you a bit more for your dollar as far as the cameras and the memory and stuff like that. But they have another AI, another project, so to speak. We don't know quite what it is, but we do know that they are staffing up for it, and that is they're staffing with the former Microsoft hardware execs, Panos Panay, who's kind of been the face and head of the Surface division until recently. And now they're snatching up Jay Allard. And those of you who know those two names will know that Allard was basically he's integral for the Xbox team. That's where you may know him uh, mostly from. But he'd also been working on the Courier project about 10 years ago, so the precursor to the Surface Duo and the Surface, what was the Neo? I think it was. Like that was, basically, if he could have had the technology that he had now back then, we could have had the Courier. And then he's also worked on the Zune. So we do know that
I
I don't know.
had the Zoom.
I had both. I had the HD and the Roam before that, but you at least know that there was a pairing of unique software for the Zune that made iTunes look like crap. And it was also kind of again the precursor for the Metro UI. Like this guy Allard is legit. He kind of retired, semi-retired. He started another company. He's been working at that for about 10 years. It had nothing really to do with tech or AI or anything of that nature. So he's coming out of retirement, semi-retirement, to join forces with uh, Panos over in the hardware division at Amazon. We do know that this hardware division will also be paired with whatever new efforts they have for AI. So I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think about this guy who, again, was ahead with the courier, helped establish Xbox Live as well? So that, again, more software and the Xbox, uh, and was working on the Zoom, another great piece of hardware with, I think, amazing, ahead of its time software, now running over to Amazon. What do they got cooking over there that's drawing these guys out of the woodwork?
Amazon has one. They've got money. We know that. You don't.
There you go. I think you said it. We can move on. That's all we need to say.
You know, you don't get these two guys without having something to bankroll it. You know that. And two, I don't think you get these guys without having a big vision. I don't think you get these two guys to come in and say, "Build me a product," and they're done. I think, we talked about it for a minute off mic. I think we're seeing the Amazon ecosystem in the research labs coming to life. And when I say that, a better Alexa, a better set of speakers, more experiences there, more of integration. When I think of it, I'm thinking something like the NVIDIA Shield. If that device is still out there and going strong, to where you've got one device that can do a lot of things. It can loop you into Amazon services. You've got speakers, subwoofers, the Sonos experience type thing, to where, you know, right now my house is everything is Google. A lot of people, most things are Apple, and it's based upon the cell phone. And we know that Amazon tried the cell phone, and I'm not going to say with these two guys on board, they don't bring some sort of cell phone back. I'm not going to say that, what was it, the Fire phone or something, that it lasted a week,
Exactly.
2 weeks. I'm not going to
That's
say
longer
that,
than the Facebook phone.
exactly. Is this where the folding phone, the Surface Duo style device comes back? I think there's an Amazon ecosystem here. Amazon's got all the legwork. They've got the content. They've got the Prime subscription. They got you buying products. They've got all these deals with football, for Thursday night football. They've got NBA deals coming next year. Being a race fan, I know for a fact that NASCAR comes to Amazon next year. I don't think they're spending this money to get this content for just content. I think we're seeing the ramp up of an ecosystem that competes with Apple and Google. Amazon has always stuck their foot in the water, and I think they needed Allard and Panos to do more than stick their foot in the water, say, come on, let's put on the life jacket and dive in and do this. And I think that's why they're there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think they are working on a project that is bolder than maybe just one connected device. I think this is the refinement of a lot of their products. I think they are going to start producing more expensive but premium devices. So
Yep.
you may get less dots, Echo Dots, and more Amazon combined subwoofers and sound bars, kind of like the Bose or Sonos, that tap into a device sort of like the Google TV. Like you're going to have a set top box, like your NVIDIA Shield that you mentioned, that allows people to access Amazon Prime videos, their photos, their music, because they all have those services. Maybe with enough hardware to power an Xbox Game Pass subscription, or Twitch. You can do your own streaming via this device or whatever. Luna, I think, is still a project they have going on. A bit of light to mid gaming on this thing for 150 bucks, maybe 200 bucks or whatever, and it sits under your TV. But I think at the end of the day, if I had to take a grand leap, and again, I'm not sold on the Meta Orion, which is that glasses project because it's technically vaporware, but I do think if Amazon wants a way back in, maybe not necessarily the phone, because I think everyone's kind of set in and saturated with their experiences as far as it comes to Android, i.e., Google or Samsung, and Apple. Like, there's no way that you're going to produce an Amazon Fire phone that people aren't going to say, all right, I want, I'm glad that you produced this piece of hardware, but I want to put all the experiences that I've had over the last 10 years into it. And all those experiences don't have anything to do with the Silk browser or any other stuff other than maybe the Amazon app that you offer. What I do think that would be great for them and would get them back on track as far as their cloud slash digital uh, online shopping experience is perhaps a pair of glasses, because you can basically put everything that they see as a product. Every experience now becomes an immediate purchase. When you say, hey, I'm in my friend's office and he's got this amazing poster up. Said he got it from Amazon. I'm looking right at it. Save that or buy it. I tell I have the Bluetooth speakers on. My friend walked out. Give me that poster. Save it, take a picture of it, screenshot, put it in my cart. I'm gonna go purchase it later, or you can purchase it now. And I just told the speakers to do it. Next thing I know, it'll be here by the end of today, because they've gotten logistics down to that refinement. I saw it at 9 o'clock this morning. I go home and it's on my doorstep. That is more advantageous to them than a speaker, I think.
And I completely agree with you. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a real life example. I was in Best Buy earlier this week, and it had been a while since I had been in Best Buy, because there's not a Best Buy within just a few minutes. It's, you're planning half a day and a meal out or a movie or whatever if you're going to do the Best Buy experience. And when I walked in, I wasn't necessarily looking at one thing. I was looking at many items across many different things in the store. And, we're always comparison shopping, to your point. And I was looking at gimbals for some of our content, and I was looking at gaming handhelds as well. And I had looked at some Copilot PCs, and I had looked at some printers and looked at a few other things too. And of course, I had gone over and looked at TVs, as most, geeks do in the Best Buy, look at the things that we can't afford. And I was noticing the associates are basically walking around with a device in their hand. And when you ask them a question, they're just pulling up the website. That is 100% what they're doing. They're reading that to you. And I was getting ready to purchase something. And actually, it was some RGB lights for my office. I'm an RGB person. I kind of like it. I was looking at some RGB lights for my office. And I had found the Grovey lights, the little lamps that sit on the corner of your office, and I was going to get 4 lamps. And they had the demo model there. I liked the demo model, and I'm looking on the website, and it was $64. Wait a minute, I think I've seen that cheaper at Amazon. So what do? I pull out my phone like anybody else. I go, you don't call the Best Buy associate over for this. You do your own price comparison right there in the store.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, can I use your computer to
Yeah,
shop somewhere else? No, that doesn't.
e-
That
e-
oh, why are you kicking me out?
exactly. And I looked up the same light and it was $10 cheaper. So $10, and and that was arrived next day. So $10 is $10, and when you're buying 4 of them, that's $40. So you've got savings there. So I think what you may see from Amazon is, like you mentioned, as you're walking through a store, even it's doing your comparison shopping right in your eyeballs. If you look at something, say for a few seconds, it just pops up a silhouette. Here's the picture. Here's the price. Here's when you get it. That's all you need. And you just either say something verbally, you make a movement, you do something on your device, or maybe any of the three. Bam, that purchase is made. Now, what will be interesting is how regular retailers will combat this, because retailers are dropping like flies right now. Your walk-in stores, because of the Amazon way. So shopping is going to get more competitive and more interesting, I think, if we start to see such a device.
Yeah, I agree. And again, this it may sound like we are being far fetching in our or grandiose in our ideas, but I mean, Snapchat just is there. They're on their fourth iteration of those like Snap goggles, whatever they call them, that do a lot of AR layering and
Hmm.
overlays. Uh, Lenovo has one that pairs with their ThinkPad phones as well that does a lot of processing of this sort. So this isn't like a sci-fi that we're talking about. This is technology that's existing. It just needs to be refined. And I think again, Panos may not be a software guy, but it seems like Allard is the kind of link. He's linked hardware with great software. Those of you who never had a chance to see Zune, go on a YouTube channel and watch the software for
That
Zune
was worth
and,
it.
and compare it to iTunes. It was, like I
Hmm.
said, way above its time. It had a design language. It had a processing that was amazing. It had games. It was great. Xbox Live again uh, was ahead of its time. PlayStation caught up to it very quickly, but it was at the time kind of revolutionary. So this guy has a way of kind of marrying really cool software with really cool hardware, and I think Panos has a way of crafting and telling a story with hardware that with these two together we could see big things from Amazon, especially with the way that they're kind of curtailing all the other little things that these two would have had to kind of figure out. They're saying, "Hey, you guys don't worry about that. We're going to put all that stuff in the trash. You focus on these handful of things that we want with this new AI that we're going to produce." We belabored that point enough. Let's move on
What
to
I
go
want to
ahead.
say one thing since you brought it. You know what I miss, and I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna let you think about this. You know what I miss? You can give me
What's
the
up?
name of it because I can't think of the name of it right this minute. What was the Xbox service that was like Twitch that got canned 4, 5, 6 years ago?
Oh,
What was the I? Because I was a user
ah,
of it.
yes.
I was.
It wasn't like remix or something. Oh, what was it called? Hold on. We're doing it live right now.
Yeah, we're
Microsoft.
gonna have to. We're going. And I'll keep talking while you're looking that up for our viewers. Amazon owns Twitch, so could we not
Mixer.
bring? Thank you. Yes, that's it. That's it. Mixer.
Yes.
I would love to see something like that in the Amazon portfolio. Now, partnering with Xbox, I don't know if you get that across the board, but you know,
Hey, we've
could
again we've
could
seen Trojan horses before. Stephen Elop. Stephen Elop.
yeah, could we see, better Twitch integration on the Amazon hardware? I think so.
Agreed. Moving on to less rosier news. It depends on who this is. We have OpenAI raising $6.6 billion, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we were talking about OpenAI being on death's door 2 weeks ago. They have survived. They had a pretty, relatively successful round, another round of investment. This is including investors like Microsoft and Nvidia. Apple, I believe, in the last minute stepped away from it, but it's raised the company's market cap to about $150 billion, which is great. But again, that's market cap. That's just a valuation of the company. I think liquid wise, I don't know exactly how much money they have on hand, but 6.5 billion will go at least a year's worth at the way that these guys are burning through money. The round was crucial for OpenAI, which again they're facing challenges, and they're projected to lose about $5 billion if current trends continue. Now they've made a bunch of moves since then to kind of combat that. We mentioned last week that they're going to spin off their nonprofit organization, focus the company being more towards a for-profit model, so that they can continue to get more investment over time. Some of the other details are that the project's essentially rake in about $11.6 billion in sales for next year. That's what they're projected to get, which is again why investors were looking at the numbers and not seeing that, like, hey, you guys have lost $5 billion. Why would we give you another 6 billion just to keep you alive for another year? Billions are still billions, regardless of billionaires giving it. But they're projected to bring in 11.6 billion, so that's positive for them, which also beats their current, I think, $3.7 billion of revenue uh, as of now, because they're going to be introducing obviously new AI models. Uh, What I want to talk about, though, beyond the fact that they survived for the next year or so, uh, is this new twist that we have of news that came out after the investment round was successful. And I guess people that were in conversations with this, and again, maybe investors who weren't NDA'd about it, or talking about Sam Altman and his company wanting investors to not invest in other companies. I believe the first person to kind of speak about this was Elon Musk because he can't keep his mouth shut. Said it was bad for the company, and it is. It's a very bad look. But these investors aren't putting all their eggs in one basket with OpenAI. They are, looking around at Anthropic, Gronk, I guess, is a thing. They're also looking at Safe Superintelligence, Perplexity, and Glean, or other companies. And I believe one of the former engineers over at OpenAI started one, and a lot of employees, the chief, were saying that this chief scientist was kind of crucial. His name is Ilya Sutskever. Her name is Ilya Sutskever. She left the company uh, earlier this year and says she wants to work on more meaningful projects, but also kind of started another AI effort. So when you lose top talent and you're burning through money, it makes sense for you to say, "Hey, thank you guys for believing in us, but just to be safe, how about you don't invest in anybody else? That way we can keep our stance ahead of everybody while we kind of figure things out." Obviously, nobody signed to this. There's no contracts. This is just kind of something I think he floated out there. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they're looking a safety net, first of all, and I think I understand why they're looking the safety net, and I agree with Elon Musk on this. I gotta say, Elon, other than your Starlink terminals,
What?
yeah, other than your Starlink terminals, I agree. You are correct in this statement. It's not good when investors are asked to stick with one company, and I still think there's a little bit of uneasiness at OpenAI about. I saw something yesterday that he's not looking. Sam Altman is not looking a new CTO as of yet. So there's all these. I don't want to say theories, but there's all these AI ideas out there, and I know that sounds a little strange because that's kind of what AI is. But there's all these AI ideas out there of what OpenAI is going to be, and I think AI is still finding its footing as to who's going to use what, who's going to use whose models, who's going to create their own models, who's going to do a little bit of both, who's going to use somebody's models and create their own. If you're going to use somebody's models, how long do you use those models before you come up with a refined model to fit your purpose for your company? Let's use Instacart, for example. Let's use DoorDash. You know, some of their apps, I have noticed, we do a lot of DoorDash and Instacart around here. You're getting those AI responses, and I can tell that they're open AI. I'm used to the format, the question, etc. And I'm not, how long is it before Instacart builds their own model? So is Sam wondering how long is big open AI needed before people start using little AI? And when I say that, licensing models or licensing parts and pieces to build their own. I still think there's a little bit of uneasiness. Not saying he's doing bad business. No, I think we're still finding our footing in this AI industry of the who, the what, the how, and also how much. What are we willing to pay? What are we willing to invest? And then you've got, those in your company that are doing analytics that are coming back and saying, well, only 10% of our people are using AI on our devices right now. Okay, is that worth the investment? Is that worth building our own language model? Do we continue to pay Sam because it's cheaper to pay Sam with only 10% of our users using it? When we get to 30%, if we get there, we'll think about building our own. There's so many moving parts, and I think there's a little bit of let me throw that safety net out there and see if anybody will jump on.
I think it's even darker than that. Because he's head of the company. He kind of, I would assume, or gets reports probably of how development's going, and this is projection as far as years in advance. Like you can't, no one's gonna have a roadmap for. Okay, this is what we're gonna do for the next 3 months. They're talking. This is models, 4.0, 5.0, 6.0, 3 years in intervals, and they have to disclose some of this information with investors. And I think it's implied when someone's investing that they are doing it because they believe in this product. And if you have to ask them to believe beyond the money that they've already given you, something, or there's a reason why they would stop believing or be hesitant in that belief.
Mhm.
Again, it's going to be hard to kind of compare this apples to oranges, but when people invest in Microsoft and Apple and things like that, they're doing it because these companies do so much, but they're not doing it as a head to head. Like no one's investing in Microsoft for Outlook and investing in Google for Gmail because that money is competing against itself. If you are believing a company is going to be the top of whatever specific industry or field that they're doing, you don't invest in other companies that do the exact same thing. I wouldn't think so. Maybe
No.
you're hedging your bets, but if that company's so far ahead, at some point you're going to say, all right, this doesn't make any sense for me to back both things. I'm just pouring good money or bad money after good money. Like I've already picked the winner. Why would I then pick the second place or third place or fourth place loser? Like that. So I think I said all that to say that I think he sees something ahead that may make investors go, you know what? Maybe you aren't the leader. But if they've already committed to, hey, we've given you money and I've got you committed to me, it'll buy me time to regain your trust, to re-earn, more investment down the line. Again, he didn't, there's no contract signed, no one's committed to anything. He didn't, I don't know, he may not necessarily even beg the way that we're portraying it, but the fact that the idea is out there is a bit worrisome to your point that, hey, maybe it isn't customers that he sees faltering on this, but commercial entities, or maybe his development team isn't progressing as fast as the industry insiders know. The people that work amongst each other that talk. And I'm sure they've brought these people into the office that be like, hey, your firm works over at Google. You can't say exactly what they're working on, but you have a pretty good idea, like, hey, how far ahead they are in something. Are we close to that? Are we doing better than that? What about your contacts over at Salesforce or IBM or Microsoft in general? Like, what are they working on, and how fast are we ahead of that? How fast can we get to that? I think earlier today there was a report about Microsoft working on a text to music functionality. So they are coming, they're going to be late to the game on that as far as being behind OpenAI and Google on this. But that's just another thing that they're building themselves to add to their portfolio, their platform of AI stuff, where they will no longer necessarily be leaning on ChatGPT for a lot of this stuff. And how quickly can ChatGPT come out ahead saying, all right, our model is the best one out there. It doesn't matter what Microsoft does. Or does Microsoft come out and say, hey, ours is actually pretty good. It's up there with Google. It's beyond what OpenAI is doing because they're focused on other stuff. That's worrisome. I'm not going to belabor that point anymore because we have Copilot stuff that we're going to get into for the last 20 minutes of this podcast or so, and maybe we'll come back to it as we talk. But if you want to put a period on it, go right ahead.
Well, I think you bring up a good point there. OpenAI, well, you brought up several good points, but the one that sticks out, OpenAI does what? What's in the name? AI. OpenAI does AI. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, even Apple, they've got all these other things that they do. They've got all these integrations they can make. They've got that's already in the portfolio. They don't have to ask for it, don't have to license it, don't have to talk about it. We just do it. And then you've got, let's go back to the money situation for 15 seconds. Look at all the portfolio that Microsoft has that brings in money. Do you think they're worried if they lose a couple $1 billion on or more or less on AI? No. But you look at OpenAI with Sam here, well, that was a couple $1 billion. And we don't have a way to recoup that without a better or different product. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Apple have funnels, multiple funnels. OpenAI, one funnel. You want our AI model? Feed the funnel. That's one way in, one way out. So he's got, if you look at it from that perspective, he's got a lot more to lose a lot quicker than these other
Yeah,
companies.
definitely. Speaking of which, we want to be fair. Microsoft does power Copilot with OpenAI's ChatGPT models. So for the time
Yes.
being, they are in business, and business is good because Copilot Plus PCs are going to be getting some new AI experiences. You want to let people know about what we are going to be getting if you are someone who bought one of these things back in June.
Yes, we're getting some new experiences, and I'm kind of excited about it, to tell you the truth. We got Recall is finally going to make an appearance, so we
Yes,
know that Recall is coming. We've got, let's see what else we
a
have.
refined recall. So again, if you've been under a rock or you missed our podcast last week, go check that out or go to the website. But a brief overview of it is it's more secure. They did all the things so far that people were kind of complaining about as far as encryption, verifying through bioauthentication, tying everything to the TPM chip or whatever that's on there, the platform, the Microsoft Super Secure platform, giving you tons of options as far as how to customize it, which websites can be seen or not seen, timers for when you're actually using the thing, and then the ability to completely uninstall it, not just turn it off, but take the bits out of the system itself so that it doesn't turn itself back on. Now, I can't guarantee that with an update that it doesn't show up again. It could be like, the
That's
Michael
true.
Myers of software, where every time you uninstall it and you update, it shows back up again. But you could at least know that for some period of time between an update, it is off your system. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to make sure we caught
Oh
everybody
no,
up.
no, no, you're good. We've got OneDrive integration that's coming, so we know that's coming to be able to search your files and be able to find things quicker. I'm personally excited to see that. Then we've got Microsoft wants to talk about the reasons that you had to have 40 tops on your Snapdragon Copilot PC. You can do super resolution with Google Photos that will supposedly upscale your photos to 4K. I'm a little excited over that. I'm not a big personal photo manipulator, but I know a lot of people are. We've got being able to better create things in Paint that are higher resolution and more detailed. We know that Paint has some AI features already built into it, but with these new features, you'll also be able to adjust your brushes using AI. So, Paint is more than loading up a scanned bitmap of your face like we used to do. Paint is an actual usable program, and AI is taking that several steps further. Let's see if I missed any here. Um, we mentioned it was coming to File Explorer. It's also coming to the Click to Do, and the snipping tool is getting some AI enhancements to allow you to summon the snipping tool by asking for it, being able to modify your snips, being able to improve your snips. I'm a big fan of that. I'm always taking
Yeah,
screenshots of things to send to people.
Click to Do was pretty interesting because it's basically snipping tool on steroids. You basically can submit it with the press of a button, just like it's following the same format of snipping tool. So you hit print screen, but what ends up happening is you get an overlay of contextual things that you can do with whatever it captures in that area.
Mhm.
So say you're taking a picture and you have two browsers up, and one is a Word doc, and the other one is your Amazon shopping list, or you're on a website looking at stickers or whatever. You screenshot the entire thing. You will get contextual menus for items in your Word, so maybe suggestions on how to edit that particular document in text form. Or it'll bring up context menus to maybe look up other things that could be tied into whatever it is you're typing in that Word doc, as far as Excel docs or PowerPoint or whatever. And on the other side of it, if you were to highlight a certain part of the web page that you're on, you'll get contextual menus for that as well. So if it's summarize the web page, or do a quick image search via Bing image search, whatever, for like other images that are similar to that, you can do that. So again, this is all with snipping tool essentially to start off with, but then you get this extra uh, set of functionalities on top of that that are using pregenerative AI to kind of give you those new experiences. I think that's probably one of the bigger ones, if it's not recall, that I think people could get it, use out of, because it's a manual version of recall, essentially. If you,
It is, and I think people are going to get good use out of the OneDrive, being able to search through your files. I know I've got a ton of documents.
oh
I've
yeah,
got 10 years worth of stuff, if not more, in my OneDrive, and sometimes file names get to be similar. So it would be nice to be able to search the contents of a file. Like if you're signing a PDF document, for example, it may be, you modified it and you want to know what the modification was and you don't remember the file name, but you know what you were looking for. It would be able to search through and see what that is and show you that document. That's important for signing contracts or any type of agreement. So you're getting more than the Windows Studio effects, which I think people have used. And I'm glad, not to go too far off topic, I'm glad to see some of these experiences coming. And I know this is something we're getting ready to discuss. I'm ready to see some third party experiences start to hook into using some of this NPU power in these PCs to, what more can I do? What more can AI do for me? Because this all funnels back to these investments. You want to give people a taste of this. You want them to say, yes, I want to do this daily. I want to do this weekly, or I have enough projects to make this worth my while. Okay, here's $19.95 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. You start that subscription process there of, you can, I know now Copilot uses tokens. After so many tokens, you are prompted to subscribe or pay. I've never actually run out of tokens, to tell you the truth, but I think some people have, and you are prompted for the subscription to Copilot, for example. So it all creates a revenue stream that ultimately makes those OpenAI investments make sense.
speaking of which, that those are the things coming specifically to Copilot Plus PCs in the next 2 months. So they should start rolling out this month. Recall, I believe, is going to be it was scheduled to be tested this month. So again, if you have one of these PCs, I think you can jump into the beta or dev version of Windows Insiders to get that access. Maybe Canary, I'm not sure. I haven't got it yet. Other people have started
I
testing it.
do.
But again, those are coming. And then in November, I believe the rest of those things that we just talked about, as far as the updates to Paint, the Photos app, things like that, should all be there. Now, the other thing we get is Microsoft did some tweaking to the Copilot chatbot on just the desktop. It's given us some new features. Uh, the understanding, it got a visual overhaul to begin with, so it looks a bit more inviting on the front page when you first open it. For those of you who have the Copilot PCs, touch your Copilot button. You'll see this new version of it. For those of you who are using just the icon, it's on your taskbar, or you can figure out other ways to get to it. Um, but with that said, the things that they're bringing to it are the ability to understand context, which means, again, this is kind of linking those uh, prompts one after another to prompt you to more questions that make more sense in a natural language. So if you're typing something, like I believe earlier today, I typed in something. I said, I wanted to summarize a page for me. And I hit enter. And it Copilot said, hey, I think you forgot the link, because it knew that I was trying to get a page summarized versus saying, like, oh, I can't summarize whatever it is. It understood, like, hey, you were trying to do something. Let me help you out with that. So it understands conversations and situations. It'll be able to respond appropriately, i.e., that. It's supposed to be more private and secure. The system will be designed to protect users' privacy and security. Uh, this offers a bit more customization. Users will be able to customize the assistant to their own preferences and be a little bit more accessible. And they're going to be doing this through a couple different things called, I think, Copilot Daily is a new thing. So you can get a briefing if you're on your mobile device or at home. And basically what it does is it takes your Microsoft account ID that's tied to anything else across the system, maybe your Outlook, maybe the widgets panel, maybe your news page on your internet, on your Edge browser, grabs all the information and it gives you a daily briefing, i.e., the weather, headline news, some of your priority inbox emails, and it'll spit that out to you. You'll be able to personalize discovery that way. It'll help users get started with various features and a new guide. So it'll walk you through how to kind of tailor these things. So you're not just left with, a text box at the bottom and a blinking text cursor, and you're just trying to figure out what to do with this thing. You get Copilot Voice, which it offers four different English voices to choose from. For right now, it's again only in English, but it does, I believe, has Australian English, Canadian, and New Zealand, UK versions of English. So that they all sound a little bit different. And then you, like I said, you get better Microsoft Edge integration. So you'll be able to basically have three different ways to get to it on your browser, which is that little icon in the top right pane. You can just go to Bing and start typing, or you can go into your URL uh, box at the top and type at Copilot in the address bar and start typing in information. They're testing two different new features as well that are called Think Deeper, which again, this is going to be in Microsoft's Copilot Labs, which you'll get access to. It's kind of like the insider feature and feedback section for Copilot, so people can go test out these new features. And Think Deeper is basically the AI's ability to answer more complex questions. So you can write a whole paragraph and it'll be able to process that and give you the information for that. Again, it'll be for users in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the UK, and US. Then you get Copilot Vision, which is kind of what we were talking about, the extinction of this whole see something, get more information from it. It's another experimental feature, but it should be coming to the Portals lab pretty soon. Again, you'll be able to Copilot will be able to analyze what users see in real time on their PC screens, on their phone, or using their phone camera. So if you have the Copilot app plus your smartphone, you can go out into the world and get information from that. I believe that's something that was mentioned with Samsung's AI and Apple Intelligence, things like that. So this will be the Copilot version. It's all great and all, but there's a downside. Before I get into that, what do you think about some of these new features for the desktop version of Copilot 4?
I think the new features are all a win. I'm not going to take anything. I'm not necessarily at this point in our journey with AI going to say that any new features are bad features, no matter who is producing them, because I think you've got to throw features out there in the pot and kind of see what sticks. And I think I will comment briefly on the redesign. I loaded up my Copilot app on this PC while you were talking. That's why you
Mhm.
saw the color change in the video. Um, it's like right now I have, these are just random things. I have typed one question into Copilot that has nothing to do with any of these topics. I've got three boxes on my screen, one that says explore skills you can learn in a month, one that says making car model comparisons a breeze, and one that says I'll suggest date ideas for any budget. At the top, something fresh. At the bottom, you've got your Copilot box to type in your question. You've got your microphone, as you mentioned. You do have the ability to click the history to the left to see your previous questions. Now, it feels watered down to the old version to me. The old version that is on my PC in the next room has a little place for plugins on the left, and I can see previous conversations. Now, when I said history on this version, it's just the question. It's not the history of what you queried Copilot about or the conversation that you had. So, Microsoft, why did you take these things away?
Well, see, you're jumping ahead. This is our last section, and it ties right
Sorry.
into this. Is that no, you're good. You're just giving us a very long segue. Microsoft's Copilot refresh has been making users frustrated, and there's a subreddit already dedicated to it
User,
because it's
user one right here.
user two. Because your point, everyone so far in the subreddit have listed the things that are missing from this overhaul. So it's one thing to change the look of something. It's another thing to take things away that were already there that weren't breaking the system. It'd be different if these, things that were at the list somehow borked the experience, and you're like, all right, well, you need to get rid of that to streamline to make it better. But they weren't. Things like plugins gone, the notebook is gone, sharing conversations and responses is gone. So if you had something really cool, like I think the other day I wrote a
I
dialogue.
did.
I wrote a dialogue between two X-Men characters I thought was amazing. Or I didn't write it, but I prompted the AI to do it, and I thought it was pretty good. Can't share that with anybody now. And maybe this is their way to make it more secure and private. I'm not sure, but there's no explanation for it. Downloading conversations in Word, text, or PDF format, again, to share with other people if you can't share it digitally. Listening to responses, text to speech, gone. Copying responses, gone. Editing and copying prompts, gone. Image generation, now limited to creating only one image instead of four, which is weird because it isn't like the system is mid-journey or something else where we're just nailing it each time and has robust things. You really need to refine this. You can get a great image from Copilot image or generating, but you have to work at it. And when they give you four options, it's easy to say, all right, well, of the four that are there, this one is at least the
Mm-hmm.
best one versus saying, I have to do this three different times to get to where that is. And to your point of tokens, maybe this is how they get people to pay for the tokens now.
That's what I was going to
It's
say.
unfortunate.
Is this a have they stripped these features out for monetization coming in quick, fast, and in a hurry?
Well, it's weird because, again, they are trying to make it into an AI companion. And this is where I ask this last question. Has Microsoft jumped the shark when it comes to that? Because, and I only asked not to be hyperbolic, but we had Cortana.
That's where I was going with it.
ChatGPT added to Cortana is basically what they're going with. And I don't think, and I think this is where Apple's going to run into the same problem, is that I don't think people want to talk or interact with these things like they're people. Like
No.
it's cool that they can spit out responses as though they seem like they're human, but I don't think the uncanny valley between us and our technology is still very wide. And again, people
Mm-hmm.
aren't going to be sitting there talking to Copilot or wanting to interact with it through, the daily briefings, things like that. That same reason why Siri never took off the way that it should have. That Cortana is now dead. That Google Assistant's kind of relegated to I tell it something, it gives me a response, but it's not a conversation. And I feel like we're making the same mistake with this streamed down or streamlined
Yes.
version of Copilot. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Bingo, bingo, bullseye. My buddy, you have my friend, you have hit it here. It's also got that look, and you may know exactly what I'm talking about. When I'm looking at this interface, it looks like it's a step back from the current Windows interface, like they tried to make it friendly, entertaining, cartoonish, even a little bit.
Well,
I'll even go out.
and to,
The
and to,
colors.
and this isn't a knock on Gemini, but this is very Gemini-esque, very bubbly, very.
Yes,
It fills the screen with a lot of excess pixels and artwork that don't really give you more content context. And I wonder, is this a response to Gemini 1.5 kind of coming out and being put on Chromebooks and everywhere else? But it like you said, is very bubbly. It feels like Gemini when if you were to compare the two.
it does.
Now
I have both.
there is a saving grace. You can go to the web browser and use the old version of Bing that has all of the plugins, that has your history and stuff like that. So if you are using the desktop version, you're feeling jaded by the experience or it's unfulfilled, go to your browser for now. Hopefully, Microsoft doesn't catch on and fix it, and you can get that old experience, that old feel back, and that level of. Again, the other thing I don't see on here is you used to be able to switch between Copilot and ChatGPT, and Copilot was the consumer version of ChatGPT. But if you needed more robust, more detailed, or more complex prompts and responses, you could hit that switch and go to ChatGPT. I don't see that in this new version. Do you?
No,
Maybe I'm mistaken. I'm pulling up again right
I
now.
I do some coding and whatnot, and I have already started looking for that advanced, more robust option unless you see something I don't. I see. Well, now wait a minute. Wait a minute. I noticed something here. You click the plus button. I have sign in for full experience. So I'm not
Well,
signed in
I'm signed in.
currently.
The plus button opens up your file explorer. So if you're going to do something like, and I'm doing this right now, maybe an image search. I'm gonna throw an image of Sam Altman in there real quick and see what it does. But that's basically what the plus button does. I threw a picture in,
Okay.
and it pulls up Sam Altman, but it also blurs out his face. It says, "I understand you'd like a detailed summary, but I must stick to copyright guidelines and can't give verbatim content or detailed summaries of copyrighted articles. Here's a brief overview." I
Okay.
don't
Now
know what
this
that is.
this is also interesting. I just signed in and it come up and said, "Hi, I'm your Copilot companion. First, what can I call you? Enter your first name." Okay. So we're kind of doing this a little live here. I'm going to enter David in here. And how should your voice sound? Oh, lovely. Um, we'll skip that for now. Okay, so topics it thought I would enjoy: a George Harrison guitar auction, a finding the best light for your photos, and let me teach you a few new words, meditation, and translate to any language. Guess what, folks? I used none of the above.
You're just being defiant. You're giving this AI a hard time for no reason.
I'm sorry, but I realize you guys can't see my screen, and I'm kind of enjoying
I
this
just
a little bit, but
I just
but I
refined
want
this
I want
again.
the old experience back.
Well, me too. And for people that are listening, I went and did it again. I put in the Sam Altman picture, the same one. You may not be able to see again if you're just listening, but there's a picture we have of him. We used it in our slide deck for this podcast currently, and it's just of him in the foreground. And I'll put it up right now for people who are kind of watching the pod. It's a picture of him in the foreground. There are two other people in the picture, kind of. You see the back of their heads, but they're blurred out because of the way the focal
Yeah.
point's set. I put that same picture into Copilot. It blurred out his face, and I asked it to explain what the image is. And this is quote what it says: "The image shows a person sitting in front of a brick wall wearing a dark colored sweater and having short dark hair. There's another person in the foreground, slightly out of focus, hinting at a conversation or an interview setting. The casual background adds an informal vibe to the scene. Got any thoughts on it?" Doesn't say that this is Sam Altman. What use are you to me? I don't need you to give me the composition of the image.
Well, I did click on the right hand side of Copilot. It's got my little Microsoft icon up there now that I'm signed in, and I can change it from light theme to dark theme.
Fair enough. I'm going to try this one last time, and then I'm going to just leave because I am getting more frustrated as we go on. I'm going to type. I typed in who is in the image, and I'm going to see if it does it. If it doesn't, Microsoft, you got yourself a problem. Who is in the image? Enter. Come on, Copilot. Good old Copilot. The image shows Microsoft. What have you done? What have you done? I have nothing else to say. If I'm in the podcast here because I am fully flustered and frustrated. Microsoft, you have taken something great and you've done whatever this is to it. I'm going to go into the feedback section, let my voice be heard. Those of you listening, I appreciate you hanging out with us for the last few minutes while we kind of did a on-air experiment. I would advise all of you to do the same if you are of a Windows PC or using the Copilot app.
Yes.
Let us know what your experiences are like with this new version. Maybe this is for people that aren't us, and maybe you guys are having a ball with it. And I'd love to hear how the changes are better or worse for you. Either way, I'd love to hear from you in general. You can find me at Mindhead on Twitter. You can find me at Kareem Anderson on Instagram for now. And Threads, I believe. I have some issues with my Facebook account. Maybe I will, maybe I won't be there. Where can people find you?
I, as of right now, don't have any issues with my social
Show
media
off.
other than I'm at David PAJ 1978 at Twitter, X, Elon's place over there, his playground, whatever. I'm also on Threads, David PAJ 1978. That's where you're likely to find me. I'm with my buddy Kareem here. I want to know what you guys think of this because I feel like Microsoft is making a shift here in how AI is going to be presented, what AI can and can't do for us. Is it for security? Is this what people want? Are we somewhere in the middle, or are my buddy and I just too picky? You guys tell us.
And again, we might have just been early to the AI front, used a lot of cool features that maybe a lot of people won't even use. This. They may not miss any of this stuff. But to have had something and then have it taken away just feels like a step backwards. And Microsoft, I hope you can course correct like you did with Recall. That being said, we want you guys to go out, touch some grass if you get upset by this. If not, go and play in your PC all weekend. But either way, thanks for joining us, and we will be back next week with more information about Microsoft news for the week. Again, have a great start of fall.
Have a good weekend, everybody.